Good afternoon. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Wicomico County Board of Education. We begin every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by one of our fine young students who will be appropriately introduced after she leads us in the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it is my pleasure. Jasmine, don't leave us yet. It is my pleasure to introduce Jasmine Copes, who is a fourth grader at East Salisbury Elementary School. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. You did a wonderful job. Would you introduce those folks who are with you today?
Yes. I have my mom. And I have my sister Alexis. And I have my sister China. And I also have my principal, Miss Wright. And last one but not least, I have my vice principal, Miss Parsons.
Well done.
Anything else you want to say?
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Jasmine. You did a beautiful job.
We should let her run the meeting. She's very articulate.
And Mr. Butler's going to take our picture. That's for you. So you can remember us. If you want to turn around to Mr. Butler here. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. We should have her lead the meeting. She was very articulate. Very well done. The student members of the board are laughing at me already. Okay, very good. 3.2, approval of today's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 3.3, moment of silence. Over the last month, we've lost two of our fine Wicomico County employees, both who were retired. The first one is Georgia Ann Colonna. She worked most recently as a cafeteria worker at Parkside High School. And Dr. Monterey Bernice Miller. Her career in education spanned 40 years, retiring in 2006 as secondary principal and supervisor at Bennett Middle School. So I'd ask everyone in their own way to have a moment of silence to remember these two fine employees, fine people. Thank you. 3.4, the highlight of the meeting other than my closing comments. Student representatives to the board reports. And we'll start with the young lady seated at the table, Tiana Staten from Mardella High School. Tiana, welcome. There we go.
Hi. Oh. All right. This past month at Mardella has been busy as our winter sports seasons move towards a close and our spring festivities begin. To cap off the winter sports season, the SGA will hold the Winter Pep Rally this Thursday as a way to recognize the achievements of the athletes and give the student body time to unwind. We'll recognize our unified strength and conditioning team that took second place at states and our track team that has 7 qualifying times for the state meet next Monday. Our hardworking basketball teams, and of course our wrestlers. The students at Mardella are currently holding a shoe drive to help those in need. The class that brings in the most shoes will win a pizza party, and the competition is fierce. Other events that are coming up are the Solo and Ensemble Festival that's next Thursday, the Honor Society inductions on the 20th, and the Senior Showcase on March 21st. And lastly, I'd like to invite you all to the Bingo Mania held at the Civic Center this Saturday to support the band. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiana. Now from James M. Bennett High School, Youngju Lee.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
The Clipper ship is driving like never before. Bennett has been focusing this week on the love and commitment that bring our community together with the Clippers Choose Love Week. This entire week, students and staff members are encouraged to participate in different events to perform random acts of kindness. Yesterday was Giving Monday. During all 3 lunch shifts, student volunteers shared their experiences with underclass students and advised on school and academics. Today is Unity Day. By wearing orange, students and teachers showed their support for unity and kindness. 2 days of Clippers Choose Love Week has been successful, and we are looking forward to upcoming events of kindness. For several days, students were encouraged to write a positive message on a post-it notes, and SGA collected more than 400 post-it notes. A banner of a positive post-it notes had been made, and it will be hanging in the main hallway. Everyone can take one post-it from the banner and pass a kind message to other people. Our great students from Miss Davies' art classes decorated JMB with hearts, banners, and photo bits. On Thursday, students can sign a Clippers Choose Love banner, pledging that they would be kind and respectful to others. As the winter sports season is almost over, the Clippers Choose Love Week will end with a pep rally, recognizing another successful year for all winter sports teams. Also, a face painting event will be happening during all 3 lunch shifts, and students will be ready for the pep rally. Last weekend was the first set of shows of James and Bennett's Rock and Roll Revival, where students and staff collaborated and gave the community a show they will never forget. We hope to see all of you at the next set of shows starting this upcoming Thursday. If you haven't bought tickets yet, only a few tickets for Friday's show are left, so hurry to buy one. I'm extremely proud to announce that 17 JMB bandsmen successfully auditioned into this year's Honors Band of Eastern Shore. Many of JMB's best instrumental musicians practiced their audition music for several months and traveled to Medalla High School to audition for the senior high all-shore band. JMB is very proud of their hard work and dedication in preparing for this audition. Last month, there were 2 math competitions among all high schools in Wicomico County. Our JMB students won first place for both competitions, and they're looking forward to our next competitions to win again. Our administration and staff members are working extremely hard to make sure students have the opportunity to learn in a safe and productive environment. Last Friday, JMB experienced a sudden power blackout. Our administrators and teachers quickly handled the situation in the safest way for students safest way for students. As a representative of JMB students, I greatly appreciate the devotion of JMB's administration and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. From Parkside High School, Gavin Dennis. Welcome, Gavin.
Thank you. Welcome. So, thank you and good afternoon. Over the past couple months, we've seen great accomplishment here at Parkside. We would like to congratulate many of our sports and clubs that have accomplished such greatness. We'd like to first start off by congratulating our wrestling team for becoming city champs. Our wrestlers worked very hard to achieve such an honor. Our robotics and vets teams are doing very well at multiple competitions, and our girls basketball is undefeated. We are glad to see the competitive and sportsmanlike spirit come from these organizations. Not only are our student organizations achieving greatness, but our teachers are as well. To see teachers like Miss Davis, who won the WMDT Teacher Who Makes a Difference, and Miss Zakowicz, who is Parkside's Teacher of the Year, really inspires my fellow classmates and I. Parkside had 19 nominees for Teachers of the Year, and which should show how much our teachers impact the students. As the year is rapidly closing down, I'd like to speak to some upcoming events that will happen at Parkside. Next weekend, Parkside is hosting Promise Prom, which allows anyone with valid high school ID to choose from close to 1,000 dresses. This event started at Parkside 8 years ago, and we are glad that it is back. The seniors are looking forward to prom, which is April 25th, and later on graduation, which is May 29th. However close these dates may seem, it is nice to see that our students are working hard to finish out the year strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. From Wicomico High School, Reese Chang. Welcome.
Howdy.
Howdy. I like it.
Our winter sports continue to thrive as we have had several students bring back honors for indoor track. Aaliyah Harris and Jeff Point DeJour both won at the Bayside and regional levels for the 55-meter sprint and the high jump, respectively. Other winners include the boys and girls 4x200-meter teams and the girls 4x400-meter team. Moreover, our unified strength and conditioning team brought home second place in the Division I states competition. Leanna Pettit scored her 1,000th point on January 28th versus Washington High, and our boys basketball team continues to dominate as they remain undefeated. We are incredibly proud of all of our sports teams at Y-High. However, it doesn't end at just sports. Y-High students also left their mark at the Skills USA competition on February 1st. Jaden Lewis received first place in hair design, and Kentrey Wallace received first place in criminal justice. Several other students were recognized with second and third place honors. Our music department is also pulling its weight with standouts Daniel Davis and Gage Sabater, who were each named to the 2020 All-Shore Senior Band as first and fifth chair tubas. Furthermore, our interactive media program recently teamed up with students at Willards Elementary School to create animations with the students' drawings. On January 29th, Y-High students traveled to Willards to have a viewing party complete with popcorn and juice boxes. We are also in the midst of our Winter Spirit and Kindness Week. Each Spirit Day was designed with the purpose of promoting kindness and self-love amongst the student body. This week, we will also be holding our second pep rally of the year as we recognize all our senior winter athletes. We're also having a dunk contest at the pep rally. That's not very important. I just think it's cool. On February 22nd, the SGA will be holding its annual bingo fundraiser at the Moose Lodge. This is our largest fundraiser of the year, and anyone over the age of 18 is more than welcome to come and play and help support the Wicomico High School SGA. It was kind of rough coming back from school in January after a nice break, but we've really hit our stride, and we're excited to complete the home stretch of the year. Thanks.
Thank you. Good job. Once again, thank you to all the student reps. We appreciate your time in being here, and especially your time in your preparation. They're always very well done. Reports are well done. Thank you. 3.5, public comments. We have two, so I'll read the public comment section of the agenda as an opportunity for the superintendent and board to listen to individuals' comments on topics concerning Wicomico County Public Schools. The chairman has the right to limit public comments in length or those concerning personnel or student matters which clearly identify an individual or individuals' appeals or legal matters that are before the board. Negotiations and topics that are more appropriately addressed in closed session or privately with a staff member. So our first speaker would be Mr. Bill Chambers. The issue is superintendent's reappointment.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the
Morning.
board. It's a pleasure to be here. Bill Chambers, President CEO of the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Briefly, just want to lend our full and untethered support for the reappointment of Dr. Donna Hanlon to serve as our superintendent. We are, and someone who's been all over the state of Maryland in my career, we are fortunate to have one of the top education leaders in the United States at the helm of this school system. And she needs to continue in that leadership role as long as she wants to. So I would urge reappointment by the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Our next speaker is Mr. Mike Dunn, issue superintendent's reappointment.
I'm a Y-High guy, so howdy.
Howdy. Another Y High guy. Howdy.
Well done, Chase. Thank you very much. And I'm also, hang on a minute, I'm trying to find my notes. I'm also an East Salisbury guy, so great job to Jasmine. I can't find my notes, so I don't really need them. So I'm Mike Dunn, the President and CEO of the Greater Salisbury Committee. It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Board of Ed. Like my friend Bill Chambers, the Greater Salisbury Committee believes that we have one heck of a superintendent, and I know you have a vote for reappointment here in a very short period of time. One of the things that, Donna, Dr. Hanlon, I've been around here for as long as Gene Malone has been around here, and that's a long time.
That's a long time.
So, but really, generationally, this is the best superintendent we've had in Wicomico County in a generation. It is wonderful. Dr. Hanlon is from Salisbury. She's a James M. Bennett graduate. She's a former principal of James M. Bennett. I'm telling you all things that you know, but leadership is nothing to be taken for granted. And these last couple of months have shown how important leadership is. These have been challenging months, but let's not get lost in these last couple of months by looking at this entire work and body of work that Donna Hanlon has put together. My friend Bill Chambers and I and our organizations put together the Wicomico County Education Foundation. It was our way of getting the business community lined up and engaged with in a better way with the Board of Education in the Wicomico County Public Schools. We did that in no small part because of who the superintendent was. Things happen for a reason. We think that there are tremendous amounts of the right people in the right places, in the right times within our community, and Dr. Hanlon certainly sits as one of those members of the Right People Club. So the Greater Salisbury Committee would clearly urge you to reappoint Dr. Hanlon, look at her Imagine 2022 concepts, look at her visionary ideas like an arts high school, and please don't take for granted how difficult real leadership is. My very good friend Jim Berkman, who is the most successful lacrosse coach in the history of college lacrosse at Salisbury University, he's a real good friend of Karen and mine. And Jim has often talked about the fact that he makes a living based on the experiences and choices that 18 to 22-year-old young men make after practice. And so Jim has to lay his head on the pillow every night knowing that there's all sorts of things that might happen out there. And Dr. Hanlon has that same responsibility. The day-to-day operations of running the school system are not easy. And I cannot imagine the thoughts that Dr. Hanlon has to deal with when she lays her head on a pillow every night. Those are the kind of thoughts that I don't think I'd want to have to deal with. So we have a great superintendent. I will also remind us that in Dr. Hanlon and in Dr. Gaddis and in Dr. Taylor, Lou Taylor, our good friend, we have in place on the Lower Shore 3 of the best superintendents at the same time that we've had in a long time. And people around the state recognize that, so we strongly urge the reappointment of Dr. Hanlon, and we thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. 3.6, Superintendent's Report.
I have to speak now? Wow. Thank you, Bill and Mike, for being such great partners with the school system. Appreciate you being here today and your positive comments. Thank you. So we have our usual grants report and our extra mile. I just wanted to spend just a couple of minutes talking about state of the schools. If you were not, I know that the board was able to be there, but many people in the audience were not able to join us. It was Monday the 27th of January. We had an amazing turnout over at Parkside High School where our CTE students served lunch, and it was a delicious lunch. And then I had an opportunity to go through with the community, or for those who were present, an annual report on an update on our progress towards goals in our school system, and then to talk about where we're headed in terms of our goals, and then a little bit more looking out into the future, as I called it, looking out on the horizon when I talked about our vision for an art school. So if you do not have copies of the document that came as a result of that, I would encourage you to look online on our website to check out the progress that we've made in the 3 strategic priorities. You know, we've been very focused on ensuring kindergarten readiness, in graduation rate, and recruiting and retaining a high-performing workforce. This year, we added a 4th strategic priority rather than embedding initiatives related to safety in those other 3 priorities. We added a 4th strategic priority of safe schools. So I would encourage you, if you have not viewed this, to take a look at it. It's specific in terms of the strategies that we have in place and that will continue to be in place to reach our aspirations of Imagine 2022. So just wanted to highlight that. And I will ask Dr. Briggs to speak to our grants report.
Good afternoon. For the month of January, we received grants totaling almost $2,000 with funding coming from the Salisbury Wicomico Arts Council and Pets in the Classroom. I want to thank the WCPS staff, which this month includes 3 separate teachers who took the time to submit grant applications to secure these extra funding for our students across the district. So thank you.
And Mr. Butler, Extra Mile Awards. I look forward to recognizing our staff.
Okay, we got some great Extra Mile Award winners this month, as we do every month, but these 2 are really special as well. So the first one is Miss Melissa Schock, if you will come on down. She's a social studies teacher at Wicomico High School. Let's give her a round of applause, and then I'll talk a little bit about Miss Schock. So as the head of the Social Studies Department at Wicomico High School, Melissa Schock is constantly going the extra mile, not only for her students, but also for her teachers. Melissa has created a family atmosphere within the Social Studies Department, with her as the respected, revered, loved matriarch, as they're calling her. Like a family, our department leans on each other for professional advice, lesson sharing, and friendship. But above all, she allows and encourages staff to lean on her, taking her calls whenever they come, whether on the weekend, the summer, in the wee hours of the morning. And like a mom, they say, Ms. Schock makes sacrifices for her department by changing her schedule, giving up her planning time, and checking in on teachers. Melissa is more than a department chair. She is an example of the teacher, mentor, and leader that the Y-High Social Studies Department is lucky to call mom. And I think, is Mr. Prop here? Yep. Pop, come on down, Mr. Pop. He is the, of course, assistant principal who is accompanying Ms. Schock today. So we want to congratulate her. First of all, we have a nice plaque for you that Dr. Hanlon is going to give to you. And we also have a nice little plaque as well. And we're going to take your picture. Okay. Let's give a big hand to Melissa Schock from Y-High, one of our Extra Mile winners for the month of January. Okay, our second Extra Mile Award winner for this month is a homeschool liaison from Chipman Elementary School. Leslie Wiggins, come on down. She's the homeschool liaison for Chipman Elementary School. Now, for the past few weeks, Leslie has been assisting Kim Baker with the residency verification situation, and her work has been invaluable. Specifically, Leslie has gone over and beyond in gathering information to support the ongoing efforts in this residency verification process, beyond the expectations of her role. When asked to go on home visits as part of her work in this situation, she has always been willing without hesitation. Additionally, Leslie has gone on home visits on her own without being asked, in order to provide additional details and information about this situation. Without Leslie's work and willingness to assist, we would not have the information needed to complete the residency verification. Her partnership and collaborative spirit has made a huge difference, and we are very appreciative for that she has done. Leslie has certainly demonstrated going the extra mile for Chipman Elementary School, and she's accompanied by Chipman Elementary Principal, Miss Perry, come on down, and also Kim Baker, who nominated her. Kim, if you will come on down as well. And we'll take your picture. Everybody smile. Couple times. One more. Okay. Congratulations to Leslie Wiggins for being an Extra Mile Award winner. And Leslie and I have this little thing going on where we talk trash during football seasons because she is a big Cowboys fan, and I always give her a lot of heck for it. But congratulations very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. 4.1, approval of open session minutes. I see we have from January 7th special meeting, January 14th. I'll entertain a motion for those approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. 5.1 through 5.4 are our consent items. Unless there's questions at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a question?
Yeah,
Mr. Palmer?
I do have one question.
Okay.
It has to do with the HVAC unit. Lisa, what's the size of that unit?
On 5.4.
Yeah, 5 point, yeah.
Okay.
General scope of that work, like replacing chiller, air handler, pumps.
It's fine. We're good.
It's a good unit.
Okay, so for that particular, let's see, it is a 20-130 ton air-cooled chiller. It has a really long model number. Air-cooled scroll package chiller, 30 nominal tons. How much information would you like?
And this is all part of keeping up with our 100% air conditioning that has to be changed out. It's an older unit.
At East Salisbury in the summer of 2018, we put in primarily VRF air conditioning in the main building. This is fixing the two adjacent wings, basically getting rid of unit vents to VRF in one wing, and then replacing the chiller that serves the other wing, which is that's what this is for.
more efficiency, save more money, right?
Correct.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Be good?
Good on that.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 6.1. Dr. Donna C. Hanlon began serving a 4-year term as superintendent of Wicomico County Public Schools on July 1, 2016. Pursuant to Section 4-201 of the Maryland Annotated Code, if the county board decides to reappoint the incumbent superintendent, the county board shall take final action at a public meeting no later than March 1 of that year. Upon the board chairman's recommendation, is there a motion that the board approve the reappointment of Dr. Donna C. Hanlon as superintendent of schools for Wicomico County Public Schools for a term of 4 years, beginning July 1, 2020?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Yes. Dr. Hanlon will make a few public comments.
I have nothing prepared, but I just want to say to the board, thank you for your ongoing support and your confidence in me as a leader. I truly appreciate it. I couldn't do this without you. I also couldn't do it without the incredible support, the talent of the staff that surround me every day. And we are in and out of each other's offices on a constant basis, and you just cannot do this by yourself. And so I truly appreciate that. I appreciate the support of the community. Thank you, Mike, for being here today, and I swear I didn't put them up to that. But we do have strong partnerships with Greater Salisbury and the Chamber of Commerce, as well as a number of other community organizations, and that's what makes the progress that we're making, or assists in the progress that we're making in our school system. And I do believe that we're making great progress. Yes, we've had some bumps in the road, and we weather them, and we come out stronger, in my opinion, in the long run, and we will continue to do that. We have a lot of work still to be done, and that's why I was interested in continuing in this role and seeing great things continue to happen for the students in Wicomico County and for this community in general. So thank you again. I'm honored to be the superintendent.
Thank you. We're proud to have you. 6.2. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent and in accordance with the board's professional services selection for architects, engineers, and construction manager policy, is there a motion to approve the selection of the architecture, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, programming / pre-design, and structural pre-qualified firms as outlined in the attached memorandum? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Mrs. Ashby and Ms. Campbell.
Mrs. Campbell.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, Superintendent Dr. Hanlon, Chair Fitzgerald, Vice Chair Malone, and the board. Per the board's policy for professional services selection of architects, engineers, and construction managers, a new solicitation was issued for architecture, electrical, mechanical and plumbing, programming, pre-design, and structural on eMaryland Marketplace and the board's website on December 11th. 44 firms requested the RFQ procedures. 19 firms submitted RFQ response packages. A qualifications evaluation committee was established to evaluate the RFQ packages based on various criteria. Submissions were ranked, and each discipline in the best interests of the board, and a consensus was reached on the top-ranked firms. The process and recommended firms were reviewed by the superintendent and CFOO as outlined in detail in the supporting documentation you guys have. If approved by the board today, the recommended firms will be pre-qualified for miscellaneous and/or small-scale projects whose value is less than $5 million per single project in each of the noted disciplines. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, I assume you're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you. 6.3. During the January meeting of the Curriculum Council, we reviewed the Bantam abridged version of Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame for possible inclusion on the middle school reading list for students in our accelerated English language arts classes. The Council unanimously recommended that it move forward to the Board of Education for consideration. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to approve The Hunchback of Notre Dame for first reading?
So moved.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Malone.
Good afternoon, Chairman Fitzgerald, Vice Chairman Malone, and Superintendent Dr. Donna Hanlon. It's my pleasure to be here today to present for Mrs. McSorley, who had an unscheduled doctor's appointment, and she apologizes for not being here. We reviewed this particular classic. You'll notice that it is the Bantam abridged version, so that this is a school-based version of. Would you like me to move over? Okay. This is a school-based version of this classic. We are trying very hard to provide materials for our most gifted middle schoolers, and we believe that this is one that will add a great deal of depth to our collection. And the Curriculum Council did recommend unanimously that it move forward.
Are there any questions?
The only,
the only comment, I'm a member of the Curriculum Council. I was discussing these books with friends of mine, and the only question I got from them, if they read all of these classics now, what are they going to read when they're juniors and seniors? That's the only comment that I've gotten from the community, and I totally back Mrs. Malone and the decision.
And the good news is we have lots and lots of classics for them to read. So you can assure those members of the community that they will not be lacking for classic materials to read as they progress through our schools.
And also, as a member of the Curriculum Council, should note that there were teacher evaluations, parent evaluations, student evaluations. All of them were very favorable.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I assume you're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. 6.4. During the January meeting of the Curriculum Council, we reviewed the Bantam abridged edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for possible inclusion on the approved supplemental reading list for middle school students. Council unanimously recommended that it move forward to the Board of Education for consideration. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to approve Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for first reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Back to Ms. Malone.
We could say the same things about this one. Again, it is the Bantam version. It is abridged, so that this is certainly accessible to our middle school students. This is for our most highly able middle schoolers. And again, by providing these classics, we think that we are providing them with challenging, rigorous, and important works for them to read. You'll also note that this allows us to have choices with our classics, so that students who may not find The Hunchback of Notre Dame to their liking might find Frankenstein to their liking.
Any questions or comments?
I do have a comment, and I was talking to Mrs. Malone earlier. I have a young friend in the 7th grade advanced class at Salisbury Middle who started reading this last week, and we were chatting about this before church on Sunday, and she found interesting the way that the letters were signed, and she particularly brought this out, and I think I like the abridged editions, and she seems to really enjoy the book. I'll find out more next Sunday how she's progressed this week.
And again, I'd just like to add that, again, students, parents, and teachers were involved in the recommendation here. And it was also good to see the classics coming back.
Agreed.
Okay, I assume you're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 6.5. During the January meeting of the Curriculum Council, we reviewed the novel Where the Crawdads Sing by Delta Owens for inclusion on the approved novel list for high school. The council unanimously recommended that it move forward to the Board of Education for consideration. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to approve Where the Crawdads Sing for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Malone.
I am back. Now we move on to high school. This is a much more modern novel. It takes place in 1952 in North Carolina. It has themes like persevering through adversity, anti-bullying messages, and again with parent, student, and teacher recommendation that they feel that this would be a wonderful addition to our supplementary novel list. It again received unanimous recommendation that it move forward to the board. This would be for high school students.
Any comments? Okay, I assume you're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 6.6. During the January meeting of the Curriculum Council, we reviewed Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, the Story of Success, as an addition to the approved supplemental text in high school. The council noted that this informational text could be utilized in a wide variety of content areas. The council unanimously recommended that it move forward to the Board of Education for consideration. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to approve Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, the Story of Success for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Malone.
For our last book that we would like to add to the supplemental list, and again, this is for high schoolers, this is an informational or nonfiction text. It is a collection of stories, of success stories, and they were gathered by Malcolm Gladwell. We noted in Curriculum Council that this will be added to the approved, if approved, it would be added to the list for English language arts. But there are many uses of this book that indeed mathematicians, for instance, were included. And so that might actually provide an ability for us to better integrate stories of success, relevant stories of success across our curriculum. So we'll be adding it to English language arts, but with the idea that it wouldn't solely be used only in an English language arts class, but that it would be available for our high school students. We are suggesting that this be used for 11th and 12th graders as they head out on their career paths, their paths of post-secondary education, etc. And we think it will be a delightful and important addition to our approved list.
Comments? All right, I assume we're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All four of these books will be available for any member of the public to come and evaluate them if they would like to. They would just need to come by our central office location at 2424 Northgate, and they will be available all month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for, again, your support of our academic programs.
Thank you.
Let's get Frank.
6.7. Board members will present diplomas for the 2019 commencement exercises as follows. Thursday, May 28th, evening high is Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Malone, Mr. Palmer. Friday, May 29, Parkside High, Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Murray. Saturday, May 30th, 10 a.m., Wicomico High, Mr. Malone, Ms. Suthalski. Saturday, May 30th at 2:30, James M. Bennett, Mr. Fitzgerald, Ms. Suthalski. And then Saturday, May 30th, 7 p.m., Mardella, Mr. Brown, Mr. Palmer. We don't need a motion for that, do we? Just information? Perfect. Okay, 6.8, Personnel Matters is for information. So now we're on 7.1, Board Members' Reports. So let's start to the right this time with Mr. Palmer. That's the fun part. They never know which one I'm going to start with, right?
I'm ready for either way.
I'm sure you are.
When I came on the board, I've always emphasized cooperation between council members, county council members, the county executive, and the Board of Ed personnel and everybody in this room. it's very, very important that everybody knows what's going on in order to move our efforts forward. Last month at the county council meeting, it was the last Tuesday of the month, there was a section where the Board of Education was involved with the student transportation. And our bus superintendent, Mr. Hughes, got up, and he led the county council through a explanation of expenses and routes and how the program was set up for homeless personnel within our school system. And he was very, very knowledgeable of that part of the subject that dealt with the homeless and kids transferred out of state and back into states. And the county council asked a lot of questions concerning this matter. So, and they were, even though it's been mentioned before about how many homeless we have in Wicomico County, I think it really hit home when Mr. Hughes got up there and gave the number of homeless that we actually have, which I believe was around close to 500, isn't it, Dr. Hanlon? Yeah, about 500 students, and a number of them having to be transferred out of the county to go to another school. And the county council members, I believe, learned so much from this one interphase during that evening, and it was good credit for the Board of Education. So I'd like to thank Mr. Hughes and Micah for supporting him with the finances in that area too. Thank you. It was a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Mr. Murray?
Okay, I would like to start out by thanking the support that everyone has shown for you, Dr. Hanlon, and we welcome you back for 4 more years. And I thought it was really nice for Bill Chambers and Mike Dunn to come in today from our community to show our support. I wish Mike was still here because he mentioned about Mr. Malone being a little older, and I look around this room, there are quite a few people from Y High in this room sitting today. And, you know, Miss Malone, I was going to remind him that you and I were the youngest. I was going to remind him of that. I wish he was here now. But anyhow, I've had the opportunity this month to attend the chamber meeting, which I always enjoy doing that as well. And then on January 20th, the Martin Luther King celebration that evening, which was outstanding at our Civic Center. The County Council meeting on the 21st of January. I attended the afternoon along with Micah, and one of our community supporters was there as well. And also, again, on the 27th, the outstanding State of the Schools address that you shared with our community, and everyone was wonderful. On February the 1st, the CTE skills, which was tremendous in all the areas. I was there to walk around in some of the areas and see our students competing, saw people from our community that were judging as well. I like that community connection and people coming together. And also on February 7th, I had the opportunity to read at Pittsville Middle School, outstanding 7th grade class, Miss Cloud's class. And the book that they asked me to read was about math, and I thought, oh my goodness, here we go, math in the afternoon, but it turned out pretty good. I used it as a thinking skill. One of our students, which I always like having the Mardella, the Bennett, Parkside, and Y High students here representing their schools, mentioned about Unity Day today and this whole week. I think that's what it's all about in our school system here and in any public school system. And when saying that, I know I'll be going this week, but I hope everyone gets the opportunity to go out to the Rock and Roll Revival. That's a tremendous talent and skills going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Ms. Suthowski?
I've had a good month. I attended the TAD presentation at the Wicomico County Library on their plans for Lot 10 downtown. The projects were creative. There was much thought in the planning. and they spent a lot of time preparing for their projects. I went to the VPA recital at Bethesda Church and heard our talented students play the French horn, the flute, the cello, the piano, and there were 4 vocalists. I went to the STEM evening at Fruitland Intermediate School and watched families together. These are events that I truly enjoy going to, the evening events that are at our schools that include the entire families working together. And I encourage all of our schools to please plan more of these events. I went to the CTE skills competition and the awards ceremony and thoroughly enjoyed the multicultural night at Fruitland Intermediate. I had a chance to, since this was also a PTA event, I had a chance to walk around and talk to parents, talk to the teachers, and enjoy a fantastic buffet. One of my favorite foods I don't get very often is sticky rice. If you've never had good sticky rice, you have missed something. And they have a parent there who absolutely knows how to do it. I even went back for a second helping. I went to Pittsville to read to Mrs. Baum's 6th grade class. The book that I read was called Gingerbread for the Revolution. This was a true story about a baker from Philadelphia who was an immigrant from Germany who helped General Washington bake bread for the troops during the Revolutionary War. He went single-handedly to persuade the Hessians, who had been paid by King George, to not fight for England. But the legacy of this man, Mr. Ludwig, lives on in a $200,000 a year scholarships to children in the Philadelphia area. It was quite an interesting story. I went to the JMB rock and roll Sunday afternoon, and that first act, both acts are good, but that first act is awesome. And I think I liked it also because I knew the words to almost every song except maybe 2. I also attended the Martin Luther King banquet, and of course our superintendent's State of the School address. And Dr. Hanlon, I am so pleased that you have a new contract. I was on one of the committees that interviewed you, and I am so glad to see all of this come full circle.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
On this past Sunday, I had an opportunity to represent the board and the school system for dedication to Mr. Richard Turner, who was a 40-year employee of the Board of Eds. I first met Mr. Turner in 1959 when he came to Salisbury High School as an English teacher. And I think the thing that impressed me most and many of the young boys in school was the fact that he was driving a brand new Chevrolet and was always well dressed. And I think most of us weren't really thinking about how good of a teacher he was, but more or less what the car that he drove. Mr. Turner also was instrumental in helping to integrate schools, because prior to 1966, the schools in Wicomico County were segregated. And when they integrated in 1967, Mr. Turner was one of those teachers who went into the other schools to work with kids in Wicomico County, and was very successful in that. The other thing that was instrumental for him was the fact that he helped in the development and securing funding for the Hazel Boy Scout Center on the YMCA on the west side of town. And as well as that, he was also the scoutmaster for the troops of the St. James A&M Zion Church. It's interesting to see, and as always, many of the individuals who are educators in the county, they not only do things that model kids and the kids see them as role models, not only in the schools but also out in the communities. He has done a lot to help kids along the way. And I think at the church program, there were I think there were 90, maybe 97 kids, or they were adults now, but 97 individuals all total that he had touched one way or another through the school system. So it was always an honor to name someone like that. They named the conference room at the church in honor of him. I also attended the Martin Luther King Day celebration, and we had about 800 kids who came to the Civic Center on that day, even though it was a day off from school. Would like to thank Mr. Hughes for working with the bus contractors, because they had a number of school buses, went out in various areas in the community to bring kids into the program. And the kids were well behaved, thoroughly enjoyed the activities that were going on there. The other thing that I also want to add, that it's always interesting, as I think Mr. Malone, maybe Yale said, the kids that come in and talk to us about what's going on in the schools, I wish in some way that we could get that message out to the community, because there are lots of good things that are going on almost every day in the schools. And finally, when we do have problems, I like the way that we as board members are informed, and I like the way the staff goes about correcting those problems. And I thank Mr. Souza for the work that he's done with the last couple of problems we've had at Salisbury Middle School.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
I think that mine may be the shortest of all today, so you better take note of that, because it doesn't normally happen. First of all, Dr. Hanlon, welcome back. It's going to be wonderful. I know that you have many, many things that you want to implement, and I know that you have some board approval with that, and we are pleased with what you're bringing to the table, and I am certain that we are all going to work together and make these things happen and benefit everyone in Wicomico County. In regards to the state of the school, was so pleased to have the opportunity to learn new things. As being the newest member of the board, there are some things I was kind of out of the loop on, and I will say everyone has been amazing with helping me get up in meetings and understand terms and concepts. And I agree with Mr. Allen that I feel that we are being told the things that are going on in a timely manner with details to make it understandable. So I greatly appreciate everyone who is behind the scenes on that. On February 1st, I did attend the CTE skills competition, as did other board members, but I wore two hats that day. I did go to observe and watch the students express all of the hands-on work that they have learned and to be graded on, but I also had the opportunity to take my teenager, who will very shortly be entering the Parkside school, and he was so excited to go into the criminal justice, and he's interested in the DNR, and he went and watched one of our friends do their skills competition for the HVAC, and that student actually placed second, so that was very exciting. He is a student from our side of the county. I was pleased to see the number of people who came to check things out. Mr. Murray, he had an amazing crew there with him with all of the cars. Miss Ann and I kind of walked around. We even gained a few kids who had walked there, and they had asked, can we walk around with you? So we had some other children who just joined in with us, which we thought that was wonderful, that they were asking questions, and we were able to help them and give them a little rundown on what would be occurring when they start high school next year. I had the opportunity to do the World Read Aloud Day at Pittsville. Jessica Smith coordinated that program for our school. She did an amazing job. I had actually brought in 2 books of my own, and when I got there, and she says, I really, really want you to read this one. And it was a wonderful book. It was titled Angel Girl, and it coordinated with the Holocaust unit that those students had just currently finished. So the students, the 6th grade students, they were very attentive. They listened. Most of them already know, because both of my children attend the school. So it was exciting. But then I also had the opportunity to drop back down to the 4th grade students, And I began reading a book during their read aloud time titled Pets by Sarah Pennypacker. It's about a little boy, Peter, and he had a pet fox that he had raised since it was a kit. And then it's kind of a war story. The dad, they had to move away, and it just talks about emotions and stress. It talks about finances. And believe it or not, a lot of our students in the county are going through their own storms and their own trials right now. And the fact that we are doing the best that we can do to give them an outlet, and we're recognizing these problems, I do want to applaud the county for that. The books that we're putting in their hands are very real life books. And believe it or not, it's probably helping our students cope with issues that they're dealing with at home that we are not aware of. So we love the books that are being brought to us for approval, Ms. Malone, so thank you very much for your research and your team's research on those. And I believe Mr. Murray had the opportunity to read in the class that my son was in. I'm pretty sure my children refer to him as Mr. Michael Murray, and they said that he had come in and read in their class. So it was very exciting. They all seemed to be very enthused. And I'm happy to say that I will be taking my children to the Rock and Roll Revival. There have been so many raves about how wonderful it is, and I am super excited to share that with my children this week. Thank you.
Thank you. So over the last month, I attended a chamber meeting like Mr. Murray. I was part of another Habitat house dedication on Grace Street, which, as you know, I'm president of the Habitat, which is always a wonderful event. You turn the keys over to a very deserving family. This family indeed had 3 students in our public schools, so it was very gratifying. Mr. Palmer and I attended the evening high school graduation. If you've never done that, colleagues on the school board, that's an amazing event, the evening high school in mid-year or at the end of the year. Many of those students have had a lot of issues in their life, and then they're still able to graduate. It's a wonderful event to attend. Then the state of the schools we all attended, and we heard from our recently reappointed superintendent, Dr. Hanlon, which leads me to some thoughts. Some of them are probably random thoughts, but I was appointed to the school board on the same day that Dr. Hanlon began her tenure with her contract on July 1st. And through Imagine 2020, Imagine 2022, Achieve 4.0, Dr. Hanlon's always had a plan for improving our school system. And there's always been goals and objectives that she has been striving to achieve. When I was in retail banking years ago with a bank where I led a lot of sales folks, we were always talking about sales goals. You had these big goals, but you always said to the folks, we're looking for incremental improvement, just a little bit of improvement each day. You can't take the big bites of the apple and the big strides. It just doesn't always work that way. So you do the little things right each day to get that little bit of improvement. And I think Dr. Hanlon has led her team, and I think this board collectively have supported her in doing those things. So I'll leave you with a quote. As you know, I love quotes. So this one's from a historian. Will Durant once wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. As we pursue our goals in 2020 and beyond, it's often best to focus on progressing just a little each day rather than trying to do too much too quickly. The former is sustainable, the latter isn't." And I would say the former is what Dr. Hanlon and her team and this board has been doing, and it's very sustainable. So let's keep the momentum going, and let's strive forward with the next 4 years. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Okay, I'm very honored to share with you Mr. Fitzgerald's board report. He wanted me to let all of you know that tomorrow he goes back to Baltimore on Wednesday to see about his voice prosthetic, and hoping on some good news there. We all are hoping some good news there for you, Mr. Fitzgerald. And in summary, just as a reminder, please go to see the James M. Bennett Rock and Roll. That's it.
That's it. Okay, then we are adjourned 5 minutes early. Thank you.